Hey, James McBride here. Thanks for taking the class. We're going to run you through really quickly how to get going in this course, what to do in this course, because wow, you do not have a lot of time. This was already a condensed course. Now it's condensed into about 4.5 weeks for one course and 4.5 weeks for the other. So here we are. Here we are in Canvas. Canvas doesn't really have the assignments. Canvas links you to the assignments and it uses your login for Canvas to kick you over to those assignments. So basically what you'll be doing each time you want to work on the course is log into Canvas and then go to the coursework that you need to access. So we have technical support fundamentals, and that's just week one. And we'll update this so that this shows you at the end of week one, that's when that's due. And the bits and bytes of networking, that's weeks 2 through 4. And so this will be updated so that at the end of the week 4, that's what you need to turn in. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at, okay, well, what is the work here? What are we doing? This access to coursework that you have to click on to get into the appropriate coursework, you'll click this button and it will take you to here. Not necessarily to this particular screen. It'll take you to here. And you'll see at the top the title of that coursework. So Technical Support Fundamentals, that is exactly what you clicked on, Technical Support Fundamentals. So here you are, and you can collapse that on the left-hand side, or you can expand it. And then each module you can collapse. So I'm going to collapse these just so you can see that this is the information that's due, that you have to do within week one. So you have to go through all these modules. I do have people that do not pay attention to Canvas. So let me say again, Canvas has the due dates. Canvas shows you what you need to turn in. You need to follow the schedule. Week 1, week 2 through 4. And then the last week, you're going to do part of this, and then you're going to finish the rest of it in the second class, if you're taking the second class. So make sure you understand that. Make sure that you are following this schedule, not whatever this says. This is only the first week of information. So let's take a look within Module 1. Basically, you've got a bunch of really short videos. So you have a little program introduction there. Let's see how long that is, 5 minutes within that video. And then as you go along, you're going to end up with the information that you really need to know for the quizzes. So there's a quiz here, a practice quiz, that has to be turned in. And there's also another practice quiz, and then a graded quiz. You'll turn in anything that says quiz. So you'll turn in the practice quizzes and the graded quizzes, and I'll see your scores on that. So for instance, let's just take a look. Here is computer architecture. Well, that's covered in this video. It's also covered in this video. So you watch these two little videos, and then you're ready to take the practice quiz. And that's pretty much it. They do it in these small little chunks. It's very helpful. Right here's the transcript, so you can actually just read down through it, or you can click on it. And you can see this is 2 minutes and 35 seconds. It's not going to take you long to go through the two quizzes that have to do with the graded quizzes and the practice quiz. That won't take you too long. Now, the other thing is you'll see documents. So the documents can have, but they usually are whatever you saw within the video. So they talk about abstraction and all this stuff within the videos. And then this is a summary. Very helpful. And yeah, if you really knew a lot, for instance, about the hardware of a computer, yeah, I would probably just go down to the document and read the documents. And of course, anything that says supplemental reading means it's not on the quiz. It's not on the practice quiz. It's not on the quiz that counts. You don't need to look on that. It's just for your information. So you would go down through this module, watch the videos that are appropriate, take that quiz, and then go to the next videos, read the documents that are there, take the quiz. So let's show you what we mean by quiz. Here it is. Here's a practice quiz of a modern computer. There are only 5 questions on this. And for me, this is a little different. For me, I'm the teacher. I have to hit this button up here to kick that over to what you see. For you, right on that screen, you're going to see this. and you'll start the quiz. You have 5 questions, you have 10 minutes, and a passing score is an 80. So in order for this to be counted, you need to get an 80 on it. And so you'll start the quiz and away you go. There it is. So it kicks on, and there's your questions. Now, to just let you know, they do shake this up a bit. So the practice quizzes are normally all the same questions, but when you go to a graded quiz, so when you do this one, for instance, actually, let's jump to one that's a little better. Let's come down to a graded quiz. There's practice. There's graded. Assemble a computer. So when you come down to the graded quiz, there's more questions. There's still not that many. They give you more time. And then on top of that, they're going to pull from a bigger pool. So you may get 9 questions and then not pass the test and say, okay, let me take it again. And then you'll get some different questions. Some of them will be the same. Some will be different. That's what you're doing. Now, the only other thing that you need to be aware of, let me see if I can find one here, is that you will also do the labs. So I'm going to summarize this in just a minute, but you'll also do labs. So this is what labs look like. Labs are pretty much a get it done or you didn't get it done. But I have other videos that go into, okay, this is how lab works and all that. What you need to know right now is, what am I turning in for a grade and how is this organized? So what you're turning in for a grade, to reiterate, is anything that says quiz on it, practice quiz or graded quiz. And you're turning in labs. So you have to do the lab and turn in the lab. How do you get that information? Well, that information is in the videos. It's in the videos, it's in the readings. And so you would go down through those videos, watch those short videos. This one's over Mac OS, and they're not going to tell you much because it's only 2 minutes long. And you can read it instead of doing that. But that's the prep material for what you're going to turn in, the practice quizzes and the quizzes, the graded quizzes and the labs. And that is really it for this video. So the only other thing I want to make sure you understand is that as you're going through this information, you are not following whatever schedule they might mention here. You're not following that. You're following what is in Canvas, because if you follow their schedule, and I have had people do this, they will get towards the end of the course and they'll be like, hey, why do I have an F? I did everything in technical support fundamentals. And I'll be like, that's the first unit. That was supposed to be all done in the first week. Oh, where does it say that? Right here. Where does it also say it? The due dates, right? So it's going to have the due dates on there so that you can see those. That's what Canvas is providing for you. Canvas is providing, here's the due dates. This is the schedule I should be on. The work is actually over here in what we would call careers Google, career skills Google. That's where it's going to. Thanks for watching this. Also, watch the next videos that show you how to go through and do a lab, and also how to turn in things so that you actually get a score for what you've done. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk with you. Hello, everyone. James McBride here again. Let's dig into the assignments. What does a practice quiz look like? What does a graded quiz look like? What does a lab look like? That's what this video is about. And then pretty much the final video that I'll do on you getting started will be about how do I turn that stuff in for a grade. Share my screen here. And as a little review, I want to access the coursework. I click here. I get a button that I get to click. And once I click that button, I am now in the material. This is the last thing I was on. So I'm now in the material here. And I can go down through my videos and watch them and do my readings. And now let's look at a practice quiz. We'll take a look at binary. I tell people when it's time to do this binary one, just do it. Just get it done. And please use the internet for your binary questions. Binary is just not something that people really use. It's important to know that computers deal with ones and zeros. That's what they deal with. I think even one of these questions, at least last year, was wrong. So if it asks you, hey, what is this? there's binary calculators online. I'm giving you permission to just use one of those calculators and get the answer. All right, so here's the binary quiz. I got a 0. I'm going to hit retake, and I'm not even going to pay attention to what I'm doing on this. I'm going to just select some things. And usually, you don't really get, this is actually more important, ASCII, like which one are you using? And yeah, you get about 5 questions. You hit submit. They give you like 10 minutes. And then right here at the top, this is what you're at. I got a score of 60. That's not passing. I need an 80 or better. I need to redo this. I need to go back and look and say, what in the heck is binary? Right? You need to do those things so that you're spending as little time as possible doing the practice quiz. Because yeah, it'll let you retake it. And it even helps you out here. It even tries to say, hey, if you do these things, this is what is supposed to help you. Sometimes it's not very helpful. But in any case, you retake it. However, this is where I can take a screenshot of this that I'm going to show you later that will show I took this practice quiz, and this is the score I got, and that's the score that I wanted or should have got. Hopefully, all of yours will say 100, passing 80. And yeah, that's what I put in. So when you turn all this stuff in, if you get 80s, 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 80s on all of your stuff, then basically what's going to happen is you get an 80 for that entire unit right here. So when you turn in your information, which again, I've got another video, when you turn in stuff here, I'm looking at those things that you turned in and going, oh, well, they got 80s on all those, so they get an 80. Or they got 80s on all those and they did really well on the lab, so they get an 85, that kind of thing. So that's a practice quiz. Now, graded quizzes are very, very much the same. Usually the only graded quiz you get is usually at the end of one of these. So this is technical support fundamentals. So usually your graded quizzes are going to happen at the end of each one of those units. And some of those little subdivisions don't have a graded quiz. So don't freak out about that. Just make sure that you have seen them all, right? Go down that list, make sure you did them. A little different. It looks a little different than it did before. Yeah, it's longer. I'm going to have 10 questions. Oh no. If you ever see squares, there's actually, they want more than one, and it's check all apply sometimes. Google, they really, really pride themselves on saying this was made by Googlers. And you can see that in their tests. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say that. Some of the ways their tests are worded is like both of these are answers. It's bad. Sometimes, yeah, you'll have a question like choose all that apply, and they're all of them. I mean, who would do that? Anyway, I'm just going to click a few things here. But that's how a test works, a graded quiz, I should say. And they give you a long time for 10 questions. The thing you do need to know is that they are pulling these questions from a much larger pool. So on the quizzes that aren't graded, you're usually just going to get the same thing over and over and over again. On the graded quizzes, you may take this again, and now there's different questions. So you need to be aware of that, because I will have students that they just speed run it. They don't actually watch videos. They don't try to learn anything. They just go to the quizzes and then just run through them. And yeah, in the quiz, you can do that. There's 5 questions. I'll figure out which ones. Then they still don't know anything, right? They just ran through it. And then they get to the graded quiz and they're like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And they just spend like 2 hours trying to get this graded quiz right, where if they just looked at the videos, which are only like 2 to 3 minutes long, they would save themselves time. It's funny how we do that, isn't it? I mean, there are a lot of people that will spend more time trying not to learn than just learning it. It's just faster just to learn it. This is very, very short information gaining, right? Guyan, sorry. What does he do in Android security? It's 1 minute. It does not take a long time. So that's really the only thing you need to know about graded quizzes is that once you take it, yeah, they're going to try to help you out a little bit, not like on the others. And then you get to retake it again to do it, and your score is at the top. And again, I show you what you're going to turn in, but that's important to know. This is the name of the graded quiz, and this is the score. That's important. All right, let's take a look at a lab. Now, I have a more detailed discussion on labs. But this is enough to get you started. So this is installing and updating and removing software in Windows. When you're doing a Windows lab, it's actually going to run all in a virtual machine. So out there on the internet, when you click Start Lab, it's going to spin up, is what we call that, spin up a server that's real out there, and you're going to get into that server. And so you're really working on a real server, a real Windows machine, and you're going to do these tasks on it. And the same thing happens with Linux. Linux is a little quicker because Windows is bigger. Linux can be big too. However, the version of Linux that they're using is much smaller. So yeah, here it is. It's so time remaining, less than a minute. It just depends. This depends on your internet connection. People will have trouble with labs because you are, I'm not joking, remote controlling a computer from this, I think, is somewhere in Eastern Europe that you're controlling this from. And so if your internet is really, really not doing well, you can have some problems with it. I also like to point out at this time that I can help you with the information. In other words, you have problems with this step right here, installing Mozilla Firefox. You have a problem with that. You don't know what you're doing. I can help you with that. But if you come in and you're trying to do this and you're saying, hey, I keep getting this error when I try to install Mozilla Firefox, I don't have any control over these labs. These are their labs. They're not going to even want me touching their labs. So what you would want to do is chat online through the help. You'd go to help and say, hey, this lab is not working correctly. I will also tell you that if you really have that kind of problem, it's probably best to just shut that down, go do something else for a while, and then come back to where that lab is and do it again, usually like the next day or something. Because usually they don't have problems. So if they are having a problem, it'll go away the next day. So you can see this is still trying to provision. So I'm going to pause this. Oh, no, it finally did it. So here's my Windows, open Windows VM. I'm trying to show you everything quickly. They actually tell you right here what you're going to do. So everything that I'm doing is in the instructions. You shouldn't feel like, oh, wow, I'm just totally out here on a limb. Also allow anything that needs to be allowed. And here it is. Windows is launching. This is the first time that it's been logged in. And it's going to set everything up and then get us going. All we got to do is create a folder within this. The bigger the screen you have, the nicer it is, especially if you have two screens. But here is Windows. It's running. And yes, you should experience some lag. You should not like, oh, click, and there it is. If it is, hey, great. Internet's working great for you. But if it's kind of slow, realize, well, I'm controlling a computer across the world. So, you can do whatever in this, but you follow the steps that they want you to follow. Hey, where are those steps? I mean, what am I supposed to be doing in this? Well, right over here is the steps. So once you get down past these instructions, then you get into first step, right? There's introductions. Here's maintaining Windows software. So you read this, and then it's like, okay, this is what you're going to do. First, you're going to install this. Now, notice what it's telling me here. Hey, click here. I'm not in that other OS right now. I'm in my computer. So if I click this and download it and install it, I'm actually putting it on my computer. That's not what they want you to do. They want you to be, whoops, that's a different one. Where did it go? There it is. They want you to go here, and they want you to follow those instructions to install into this computer, right? I am now going through the web to browse the web in another computer. Set as default, and here we go. Now I can download Firefox, like firefox.org, and away we go. So they give you all the instructions on what you're doing as you go down through these labs. They show you the screenshots of what you're doing, and then you check your progress. And when you hit this button, it goes over into this virtual machine that you're running here, and it sees if you did it. And it's not going to do it. It's not going to give me a score because I did not install Mozilla Firefox. Now, something that also happens in this is that you may do this and it says, oh, you haven't done it. But then up here, it'll say you got 10 points. So do realize that sometimes there's some lag in what's going on. I've had people go through and on the last thing, this is 30 points. You can click that little button there. 30 points and they hit check my progress and it just doesn't go through. Doesn't matter what the lab is, not necessarily this one. And it doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. And so they just say, oh, I'm just going to exit out of this. I'm going to end my lab. And they do. And then they go back and they're like, oh, it graded it. It said I did it. So realize there's a few little problems there. Don't get too frustrated with that. If you know you did that step and it's not checking it off, go ahead and end the lab. And then later on, go back and look and see if it gave you a good score for that lab. Now, if I end the lab, let's go ahead and end it. They always want some comments like, how was my lab? And I'm not going to really give them comments. Okay, let's look back over here. I'm just going to click on the practice quiz just to refresh this side. Notice it didn't give me a check mark. So one things that the labs do is that, yes, you can take a picture of this whole area that shows I got 30 out of 30 and here's the name, or you can actually take a screenshot here with check marks, because if you didn't complete it all, then you didn't complete it. So you can do that. Now let's look at the other way. So what I basically showed you thus far is that you're going to do the quizzes, you're going to do practice quizzes, you're going to do labs. And when you do these quizzes, they'll actually show you your score and they'll show you the title. And the same with the graded quizzes. And then the labs, they'll show you your score over here and they'll show a check mark here. And of course, I need to see this screenshot here showing you that you did it all. That's the best one. Or a check mark here showing you did it. What you're doing is you're going to be creating a file. And that file is what you're going to turn in. So we'll get to that in a minute. So that is pretty much it. Let me show you a Linux one. I should show you that so that, you know, it's basically the same thing, but it is quicker. You hit Start Lab and it punches it out right here on the side, which is good and bad. You get a lot less space to work with. And yeah, most of your Linux stuff is going to be at the command line, so you'll get really familiar with that. This is all about starting the lab and what you should see. This is the computer name that they gave it. And this is what you're logged in as. That's who you're logged in as. And then here's the commands. And they tell you this is what the command does. And here's the command. And yes, you can copy that and you can come over here and paste it. There it is. Please, please, please make sure that you're reading what the heck does this command do? Because I will tell you, you're going to get to assignments that are going to not give you the correct command. And if you didn't read the above material, it's just going to give you errors. There it is, package was not installed. So we're checking it, and look at that, it tells us the same thing. That's what these little screenshots are for. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got the same thing. So now on this one, depackage, we're actually going to take a look at GIMP here. So Firefox is not installed. We're going to take a look and see if GIMP's installed. Oh, we got a bunch of stuff for that. And if we went to the top, so here's our Firefox. Then when you're at the command line, you do have to deal with this. Right here, there's where we issued it. GIMP, install, okay, installed, optional graphics. So it's showing that same thing. This is a little different. Installed size is 2016-24, but 1924, but that doesn't matter. So that's a Linux lab. And again, as you go down and you issue all of the commands they want you to issue, then you hit check my progress, and then that will check off that progress. See, you're just installing VLC, Mozilla, and GIMP. That's all you're doing in this. And same thing applies. If it's just like, man, this is just not updating, even though I did these steps, then just go ahead and end it and then look later and see if they gave you the check mark for doing those labs. All right, that is pretty much doing the work. I didn't go through and actually, watch a video with you, but I figured that's pretty easy. And I didn't go through and read, for instance, a document, which is module summary or something like that, because you can read that. So all the information's there to help you get along through the course. Thanks for watching. The next video will be about how do we turn stuff in.